Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Safety Brief for 2025. We hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season, and we're excited to kick off the new year with you guys. As we step into 2025, it's clear that new threats are already emerging. That's why today's episode is all about strengthening your defenses for 2025, because every new year brings fresh challenges in the cybersecurity landscape. So let's dive right into it. To start, let's reflect on some of the most significant cybersecurity incidents of 2024. What were the most standout events from last year? And more importantly, what lessons can organizations take away to better protect themselves in 2025?
Oh God, how much time do you have?
There was
Well, let's
quite
see.
a few.
MGM got bent over. That was fun to watch. I love that. Let's see. Change Healthcare. That was also interesting because it impacted God knows how many people. Um, let's see. How many educational institutions did we have that were completely and utterly violated by threat groups? Um, I mean, you tell me. There's been so many different incidents that should not have even been incidents that you could really pick from for this. And I don't think anybody can honestly get the award for worst event because they all equally sucked.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot that happened last year, as Matt Doom had mentioned. But I think probably the most noteworthy is a public service announcement from the FBI, which basically had stated that potential foreign adversaries had infiltrated critical telecom communications, advising the public to use two-factor and secure messaging apps such as Signal and Session and others,
Mm-hmm.
hypothetically saying that we can't guarantee we can uproot them. And I think this is a noteworthy. I think it's a noteworthy event because this is probably the first admittance of any government in any capacity. It says we can't keep you fully safe,
You know
and
the
it's a
reason
bold claim.
why?
It's a bold claim. Well, I think ultimately it's just it ought to provoke a mindset of like the government will keep us safe as far as cyber threats go, and it is on you to keep you safe, whether you're an individual user or a business. I think that's the ultimate theme to look at going into 2025 is that nobody's coming to help you. You got to help you type mindset, right?
I think you win with that one, and that might actually get the award for potentially the worst situation only because of the fact that it managed to do something that in history has not been done before. It got our government to admit that they had built back doors into things that were then exploited, and they didn't know how to actually go through and unscrew the entire situation.
Right. And I exactly. And I think what this kind of alludes to is that, something that a lot of IT practitioners have known for a long time is essentially that the internet is insecure by nature. It's unsecure by nature, meaning it is not encrypted, it is not hardened. It
Mm-hmm.
is a wide network of a bunch of devices talking to each other via plain text, and that for the FBI to come out and admit that, and it's not just the FBI, it's just federal agencies from the United States side to say, "Hey, your security's on you." That's a bold claim. It's a bold claim, and I say that not critiquingly. I just say it ought to be a wake up call for equal amounts business owners, business executives, as it is for independent consumers and users. Right? That some of these systems, like telecommunications, like SMS, were not built nor designed with security in mind. They were built with communication in mind.
Mhm.
And so if you are transmitting information like, messages of where, loved ones in the military may be traveling, there's long been advisories for military members on geotagging photos and sharing geographic locations, like on ship, For example, like if you're in the Marines or the Navy and you're on ship, there's very specific guidances, rightfully so, about talking to loved ones of where you are and where you're going and where you're stopping. Why? Because this data would be privy to somebody looking to stage an ambush, stage an attack, or invoke some kind of proxy. And so again, 2025's got a lot already spinning off. There's a lot of people hurting physically and logistically when it comes to cyber threats or physical threats. But I think the biggest motif we need to learn past last year is that your security is your responsibility. That you can try and dish it out to tools, you can try to dish it out to vendors, but ultimately, those you partner with or the solutions you manage yourself need to be sound. That there's not going to be some higher upstream power that will keep you safe on a cyber forensic level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for those powerful takeaways. It is evident that every breach tells a story, and the lessons we learn from those incidents are what make us stronger as an industry as a whole. So now let's talk about the tools we have at our disposal. With advancements in technology, how can tools like AI and machine learning contribute to more effective threat detection and prevention in 2025? You should know a lot about this one.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we saw, and I don't know how much of our listener base are gamers, but we had a lot of CES announcements around NVIDIA and their new GPUs about how AI is being used to preemptively predict frames and predict content that's coming. And there's some interesting critique over, is it legitimate parts of the game or is it like its best guess of where the game should be at that time? And this isn't a gaming podcast nor talk show, but I think the point is that while AI is the buzzword in everybody's mouth, accuracy is not to be equated with innovation. And so just because it's new, just because it's bleeding edge doesn't mean it's accurate. And that means the same for good or for bad. And so I would just say be wary. There's a ton of innovation in the space right now, and which is a great thing. It's a great thing. But I know Matt has been through some interactions. I've been through some interactions, and we go to a lot of shows and hear about a lot of tools, vet a lot of tools, and words and claims are not all created equal. And so when someone says AI, when someone says preemptive learning, when someone says deep learning, when someone says generative AI, these are terms to give everybody the benefit of doubt that 24 months ago never existed. They weren't in dictionaries. They weren't in our vernacular. And so I think everybody's still working out what that means and what does it mean to say AI? What do you classify as your Echo Dot AI? Well, yeah, kind of, right? Is your Siri AI? Yeah, but I think, again, just be wary of placing this overwhelming sense of hope into a vertical that claims AI. Man, we're AI powered, AI this, AI that. AI in some way, your traffic light is AI. Hate to break it to you, right? Like your traffic light's AI. It's using pressure sensors and plates to make decisions based on traffic flow. AI has been around a long time. And
that's
so
the case. My traffic system down here must be the lowest level of AI that has ever existed.
It is. It is. But I just say it as a be wary of buzzwords and terms. This isn't shun the fad or anything like that. Just be wary.
This is a good example. So this thing right here that I have, which has a really badass cover on the back of it, gargoyles are awesome. It was touted. Now, mind you, I'm not using the newest version of it because F that. I'm not spending that much money on a cell phone every year. That's just stupid. It was touted to have AI capabilities. I have the AI on this phone because it is new enough that I could actually opt in, and I put the AI on the phone. Now, what we were seeing was a massive marketing blitz about how this was going to revolutionize everything. It's going to do all this. It's going to do all that. The damn thing can't even set an alarm for me the right way. So when people tout and say the AI is here, it's going to do all this, it's going to do all that, just as Mike was saying, be wary. AI it's not what you would anticipate it being. Most people Their version of AI is some extremely rudimentary deep learning, or not deep learning, machine learning, which was quite honestly compiled by the cheapest bidder they could possibly find. It checks a box. All right. We're going to go old school here for a second. What they're doing right now with AI is the equivalence of what WebRoot does with its antivirus. It checks a box. Is it there? Absolutely. Does it do anything? Probably not. But it checks a box and means that you can move on with your day saying, well, we do this. Not all artificial intelligence is created the same. We've seen that. There is Doc Octopus level of artificial intelligence where it's controlling his, robot arms and basically augments him to be a supervillain. And then you have artificial intelligence that can't tell whether it's a muffin or a dog. Just saying.
I love that.
They are not made the same. And there is a whole lot of variance in between there, from getting to something slightly dumb to something like we use as part of our security stack, which has been proven time and again to be the most advanced form of artificial intelligence you can use in the security stack. So that's why I'm sure people have seen me blowing everybody up. I'm very hypercritical when people start saying that they're using AI.
Yeah.
I want to know how you're using it. I want you to give me examples. If you say, oh, well, we're training our data, how? When? What data is going into your data sets and your models? How is it being applied? If you can't answer that, you're not actually doing advanced AI. What you're doing is probably throwing all your data into a large language model and hoping that it provides something relatively close and not a hallucination. And yes, for those that are curious, when an artificial intelligence model, like a large language object, gives you incorrect information, it's called a hallucination. I don't know who came up with that. That is just no, but that's what they call it.
Actually, I've never heard of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you gotta be aware of what's actually out there, and everything is changing so quickly. You're gonna have to have a way to validate everything. So I don't know, just ask the right questions.
And, that's something we harp on a lot on the safety brief, is not being afraid to ask vendor questions. And those were some great questions to ask, Matt, especially when people are advertising that they're using advanced AIs in their cybersecurity defenses. And as always, it's crucial to remember that the same tools can be weaponized by bad actors as well, which is why vigilance is key. And speaking of vigilance, let's focus on the human factor. What best practices should organizations adopt to improve employee awareness and reduce human error as a leading cause of cyber incidents?
Fire all humans.
So let's say, I know you're going to love this one, Matt.
I mean, I have long used an analogy that a machine can be set and built, and you can have everything running perfectly. Leave the machines to themselves. It will continue to run the way that it is designed to run. The first time you apply a human to that equation, something's going to break. Humans are the chaos element. So my suggestion for employers this year is, while you want to trust your employees, and you can trust them, specifically if you have remote employees, you know that they are getting their stuff done. They may get it done at weird times, but they're getting their stuff done. You can trust them on that part. What you can't trust them on is their judgment in some cases when it comes to cyber hygiene. I have seen far too many times in the last year where people were clicking on something and it would tell you, okay, you need to hit Windows R and then paste this and hit enter.
Yeah.
What CAPTCHA has ever had you run something like that? None. There are no CAPTCHAs that have you run a command on your local machine in order to pass them. But we have people that were trying to actually do that. Because common sense goes out the window when they're trying to get a task done. It's unfortunate, and people know that. Threat actors are willing to play on that. And they're highly successful with it. It's just like emotions. Humans can be exploited in a number of different ways. Do I like being able to say that humans can be exploited that simply? No. But we can be. So employers need to be looking at their employees. Is something off? Does something appear abnormal in, their day-to-day? Have conversations. Just, let people reinforce. Say, look, we believe in what you are doing. We know you're capable of it. If for some reason you have questions about the legitimacy of something, ask questions. I would rather somebody come to me and say, hey, this website is telling me I need to paste this and run it. Should I do that? Than to run it and do the, oh crap, what did I just do? That's going to be a lot worse, because if somebody comes to you and asks you about something ahead of time, that's a teachable moment. It's a different type of teachable moment. If somebody just does the action and then comes to you after you've found out about it because everything broke loose, it's a different kind of teachable moment. It's a much less enjoyable teachable moment. So you can trust, but you need to go through and verify that, there aren't things happening on the back end that you could prevent.
Something that I saw a lot in the SOC as well were employees gaming. We would always get alerts of, anti-cheats and things of that nature being downloaded and utilized. And I know, Mike, you actually brought up a good point the other day about a game my husband was playing. So it's not always like, oh, you got outsmarted or you did this. Sometimes it's just downloading the wrong thing or,
Delta Force.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but
I'll say it flat out because I've called them out on it. It's shady when you build a game and you put an anti-cheat that's kernel level and build in Luma Stealer so that you can harvest all your players' data. Who does that?
But it's not always as obvious as you think as, I shouldn't enter a command here for a CAPTCHA, or this is obviously phishing. It's important to know that, especially with remote workers, it's not always like, oh, he's not dumb, I don't have to worry about him. Sometimes it's the little things like downloading a game or doing online shopping when you shouldn't be on your work computer. So just something I wanted to throw out there. Mike, do you have any thoughts on this subject?
Yeah, I think threat actors know what people are attracted to. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why video games are such a large attack surface. There's a reason why around holiday time UPS and USPS is impersonated. They are not impersonated nearly as much 11 months out of the year. Threat actors do their research, and a lot of their research is not technical. It's psychological. It's about the human condition. It's about how humans think, how humans react, what things set humans off, what things lower safeguards that we normally have in our everyday thought process. And so again, a lot of people look at cybersecurity as almost like a clash of the titans, if you will, of whose tech's going to win. And at the end of the day, you can have $1 million, $1 billion security budget, but if somebody walks in with a yellow vest, a clipboard, and looks official enough, they're gonna waltz all the way through it, right? And so I think it's just a cognizant level of, number one, like we talked about earlier, you can try and offset risk by delegating out security to tools and vendors, but at the end of the day, your security is your responsibility. That's the lesson we learned in 2024, that a lot of people, U.S. citizens included, trusted certain powers and entities to keep them safe when it came to a cyber landscape, and that's not happening. Your data is not being kept safe by various vendors that are being given it, And now our telecom or critical infrastructure isn't safe by those that are charged to maintain the security of it via taxpayer money, etc. So ultimately, the theme going into this year is number one, if you want something secure, it's your job to secure it, right? Like it's your job to secure it. It's not a compliance's job. It's not a compliance manager's job. And, this starts at the employee level, right? If your company is having to reel back from a cyber attack or a breach, guess where that money goes? Out of people's pay compensations, out of people's raises, out of roadmap, out of hiring, right? That money comes from somewhere. So at the end of the day, the employee's job is certainly to do their job and not become a cybersecurity expert, but just really, it's cliche, but everybody needs to take cybersecurity seriously, both at the consumer level, you and your home, like your own personal data, as well as you at work. And that includes what devices you put company data on, what other apps do you have installed. One thing that we have, going out via many different tech tips is really cleaning up unused apps, right? It's, hey, if you use an app like me, for example, if you're using like a parking to go or a parking meter type app, right? How many days a month do you use that on average, right? If we go to the beach or the mall or whatever it is, right, we'll use that maybe once or twice a month. That app has no purpose to be there for 28 days out of the month. Remove it, clean it up, right? Like just like you go into your car, if you never took a cup or water bottle or something out of your car would be cluttered, right? Most cups are one-time use. You use it, you throw it away. If you get Starbucks, if you get a gas station drink, whatever, think of your device and its hygiene like that. It can get really gross really quick, and you may not notice it at first. Why? Because like Matt mentioned, your $1,300 device has 16 gigs of RAM, more tech than the Apollo lander, all this stuff packed in, and you're not going to notice it. You're not going to notice it. But all of that data scraping is your personal data, your intel, just getting handed out. And so again, long-winded start to 2025, I admit, but there's a lot to kind of go into the year thinking. But thematically, your security is your responsibility, right? Like
you heard it first here. According to Mike, you should use your device once and then throw it away.
I mean, we had disposable cameras, right? We took them, we got the photos.
Yeah, when are we going to get to disposable computers? I'm asking about that.
I don't know, man.
I would love
biodegradable
to get to that
is
point.
A prerequisite. I don't think silicon goes back into the environment really easily.
Wonder if we can get NVIDIA on that. Here's a new market for you: disposable computers. Imagine the income that you could have.
Oh my word!
Nah. So comes with an RTX 8020 or something like that.
Well, it's definitely obvious that training and awareness is vital. A well-informed and vigilant workforce often stands as the first line of defense against potential breaches. That's why here on the Safety Brief, we're dedicated to spreading awareness to not only organizations, but end users as well. Well, let's shift gears to partnerships. What role do collaborations between MSPs and MSSPs play in enhancing cybersecurity, and how can partners maximize their relationships in 2025? And feel free to break it even down to just our individual partners. How could they better utilize the collaboration between the two of us?
I'm going to go wide before we bring it in. So MSPs, by design, are not necessarily going to be specialized. Most MSPs are going to be kind of a generalist. They're going to be a jack of all trades to help you get things done, but they're not going to be a master of any one particular area. Otherwise, they risk limiting, what they could actually do in their customer base. So the partnership that you get when you have an MSP and you work with an MSSP is having people that have that specialization, that are able to focus on the different areas. We have our SOC. We have people that are amazing doing security operations. That's what they do. We have our endpoint guys. They're amazing at doing endpoint. They try to not cross over to each other's lanes. Look at it. I envision it as a swimming pool, and you have your different lanes. You've got those floating bumpers that hurt when you are not in your center of your lane and you bring your arm down and it sucks. I'm terrible at going in a straight line in a swimming pool. I'm just going to throw that out there. But that's the thing. You need people that are going to be able to stay in their swim lane. And that's what an MSSP does. It gives the capability to work with the MSP, allow them to stay in their lane. They can work on selling, growing, giving their customers a great experience by making sure that they are secured the right way. The MSSP on the back end is empowering them to do that by showing them they have their back. They're monitoring all of the different objects that need to be monitored at a level that the MSP could not hope to do without hiring specialized people, which is more of a cost they have to undertake. And then if they do hire that one person, they're going to get burnt out because it's that one person handling that one thing. How many events come in during the period of a day for an MSP?
Oh,
Ridiculous amounts. If you're going to have people that are going to be looking through that and they're not specifically cyber oriented, and it's not their, day in, day out joy that they find in life, they're going to get burnt out super quick. We're getting ready to put something up for our partners right now, which outlines, what probing is. And it talks in there about innocuous objects that can actually end up being a major issue within your environment because they're just overlooked. That's what an MSSP does. That's what the partnership does. It gives you that teammate that's watching your back. I envision it to, I'm sure everybody here has seen Robin Hood Men in Tights. Where the MSSP is the guy that is watching Carrie Elway's back. He says, "Watch my back. Your back just got punched 3 times." Yes, that's the MSSP. We're going to let you know when things are going sideways. But the important thing is, if you have a proper MSSP there to back you up as a partnership, they're going to be advising you of things that have been prevented in your environment. Not, hey, this got through, just thought you should know about that. It's more, hey, we stopped this from getting through. This is what could have happened if it was successful. So that you can add value to what the customer, or to what your customer, the MSP, has. The MSP can then take it to their customer and say, look, this tried to get into your environment. You need to talk with Steve, because Steve is going to some weird Russian websites and clicking on stuff. It's all about value add, and partnerships can make that value reach an entirely different level.
Yeah, you brought up a document that we're about to publish to our partners, and that's something I wanted to highlight personally is utilizing the documentation or even training that your partner provides or your MSSP provides to MSPs is super important to better understand, number one, new threats that are out in the wild, new things to look out for, and understanding the tools that you have equipped for your clients. I think that's a huge, important thing. And just be sure to utilize those resources that are being put in front of you by your partners.
Yeah, no, agreed on all fronts. But as far as like closing thoughts are concerned, I think ultimately, it's really going to come down to the quality of the belief of right person, right seat, as far as a function is concerned. What I mean by that, as it pertains to managed IT departments, IT engineers, internal IT, whatever, there's going to be a type of company and team that resonates with the Blockworks partnership model, which is we're 100% US-based security operations center that provides managed security against zero-day threats at each vector, right? If it's email, if it's endpoint, if it's firewall, network edge, vulnerability scanning, whatever, we do a lot. But I think ultimately the partners that resonate both best with us are going to be those that acknowledge right person, right seat, and say, hey, we as an MSP are best suited to serve our clients in these capacities. We're not trying to do everything. We're not trying to do X, Y, and Z. We know what we're best at, and we know what we're good at. And a recognition of that requires an equal amount of recognition of, if this is what I'm best at, I'm not best at these things. Blockworks, we're very overt about the fact that we don't do everything. We are not a one-stop shop for every single possible compliance control. We do not provide end-user support. We do not provide all of those things that MSPs typically historically have done far better than we have. But our niche is 5 to 6 things. And I think those partners that recognize that, hey, I'm really good at these 5 things I can count on my hands, but I'm not good at certainty of tools or separating fact from fiction as it pertains to the efficacy of tools. I don't have a fully staffed threat intelligence team to measure all this and vet all this. That's where we typically shine. And again, it's an acknowledgement and a humility to say, this is what we're best at as a team. This is us taking inventory of our strengths. And once you look at your strengths, you got to build a roster that plugs those gaps. And so ultimately, as far as partnerships go, not everybody is for us, and we're not for everybody, but for those that have found a really good, harmonious, symbiotic relationship with us, it's typically those that say, we're the best at end user experience, end user support, uptime and awareness and backups and resilience and uptime and all that. And then they look for a cybersecurity partner with those same priorities that hold those in such a high esteem as they do. And often we found finding a vendor of that partnership level is slim pickings. And so we're our own worst enemy. We got plenty of things to work on ourselves. But I think at the end of the day, right person, right seat is going to be a big theme as partners consider which vendors, which entities, which companies they're going to partner with in 2025.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mike. Well, to wrap us up today, let's leave our listeners with one clear takeaway. What is the single most impactful action organizations can take to strengthen their cybersecurity posture in 2025? Let's give them some homework today.
It's funny. The shortest answers are always the hardest to give. I would uninstall social media apps from your mobile device. I would use them solely on the web. I would, again, these targeting ads, these analytics, they're pulling a lot of user data, a lot of advertisement data, what your interests are, and that data is sold, and it's often used by spear phishers and those seeking to compromise targets because that data is publicly available, right? So if you don't believe me, go search your first and last name with info after it. I bet you'll find your address, your phone number, your spouse or your partner or your family's name. Like, this data is out there, right? And there's
Favorite color.
I don't want to be the doomsday guy. It's not in my job description as much as it is Matt's. But I think ultimately, be cognizant that we are far more susceptible than we think. And again, it comes back to who's going to secure me. Yeah. The answer is me. And if you're not, don't trust these companies to keep your data safe. Don't trust the government to keep your data safe. That's not their job, and they have no clue how to do that. And I don't say that bashingly. I say that as evidentially. Empirically, we have evidence pointing to them failing to do that and them admitting that they can't do that. And
they admitted to it. So
yeah. So again, right person, right seat. Who's going to secure you and who's going to secure your company? You. So just be wary of vendors. Be wary of those that you're putting your trust in and kind of offsetting that risk. All risk is a percentage. It's not an assurance, but find a partnership and make sure it's trustworthy.
My suggestion would be to buy a compound, get rid of all technology, and go live off the land. Because it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah, Matt's far more practical than mine.
That's something you can do this evening, implement it right away.
You can
go build the homestead.
Exactly. Start looking at my profile on Only Farmers. We're good.
Dude, just go get some chickens. Watch your joy increase, your screen time decrease.
Pretty much. I mean, honestly, that's the biggest thing. We spend far too much time on screens. So for 2025, my suggestion would be, if you're not working, don't work. Yeah, I know. I'm the worst
We're
person
all
to
a
be
The
little-
giving this
irony.
advice. I know.
That's
I
what I was
know.
The
saying, we're all a
irony
little
cannot
guilty of
be
that.
I was
weighed
waiting for Mike to say that.
in
See, for those of you who
bricks or
don't know,
volume.
when we're done working, Mike is usually on gaming, and I occasionally will join. So we go from looking at monitors to looking at monitors. But
I've got
if
my
you're not
setup right next to
working,
me.
exactly, if you're not working, don't work.
Yeah.
I took time off at the end of the year and realized that I was still working. I still joined meetings. Now, mind you, that's partially because I'm beyond damaged, okay? Like broken. Um, I was also bored because there's only so much I can do while sitting at my house. But
Well, I think
don't work. I did disconnect, and it was great. I actually got to go do things that I wanted to do. But at the same time, I still kind of felt guilty that I wasn't working. But it's a necessary thing because you need that downtime for your mental health, for your well-being, to find balance. You can't be the best at what you're doing if you're working nonstop and wearing yourself down. It's not going to happen. So, if you don't have a compound that you can go hide out at, which, come on, doesn't everybody have one? Like, really? No? Okay. Well, my bad. I don't have
Even
one.
if your compound is a reading chair and
Exactly.
a book.
Exactly. Your compound can be a reading chair and a book, a bathtub, wherever you want to go. Find your happy place, disconnect, get yourself
And don't bring
centered.
screens with you.
Yeah, no screens with you.
Don't bring screens with you. Yeah.
Toaster optional.
I feel like there's an irony here too. People either listening or watching to this, right? And it's like, okay, now shut it off, right? Okay, that's the end.
Yeah, pretty much. The safety brief is over. You can now turn off all your devices for the next, week until we come back next week.
All right, ends live now.
Right.
Well, those are some excellent topics to end today's discussion. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. A huge thank you to Matt and Mike for sharing
As it
such
abruptly
valuable.
ends.
Turning my monitor off. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, hold on. Gotta go.
There it is.
Well, as we face the challenges of 2025, let's remember that preparation and proactive measures are the keys to success. And from Matt's point of view, unplugging as well. We will see you next time on the Safety Brief. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, let us know in the comments. Stay safe, stay secure, and let's make 2025 a cyber strong year.
Thanks all.